Welcome everyone to today's webinar, which is 7 winning tips from great contact centers. We've got a great agenda for you, 2 brand new speakers to our webinar program. So I'd like to introduce to you Prashant Parikh from the National Property Trade Organization. Prashant, you've been a judge at the Contact Center Awards, seen a lot of best practice, I'd imagine, over your career.
Yes, and that allows me to kind of always see the best, but at the same time, realize how quickly this whole market is changing, and you have to be on your toes always. Yep.
Excellent. So, we've also got Hugh Jones from Variant Monet. I think we first met probably best part of about 15 years ago, I think, at one of the events at Weybridge, I think, that I came across.
Yeah, that would have been it.
Across to there. So welcome, Hugh.
No, great. Really excited to be here, actually. And it is funny. It's been a while. I've been in this industry now for close on 20 years, and with workforce management, it is continually evolving. And I'm always excited at the new things that our customers are moving forward towards. So it's never an easy ride, this one.
Indeed. If you're not logged into our chat room, if you'd like to do that, here's the address here. We're going to be using the call center helper chat room rather than the Zoom chat room, so you can share with other people. So if you just like to type cch.chat into the browser, or there's the old way we used to do it, callcenterhelper.com/chat. They all end up at the same place. But probably the easiest is just type cch.chat and off you go. You'll be into the chat room. Just fill in your first name and email address. It does come up in a separate browser, so you can either do it on your mobile phone if you prefer, or you can do it on a PC screen if you want to put the two side by side. One of the reasons we're using the chat room is that you can vote in our quiz. So you have the A, B, C, D button. So when we get to the bit in the quiz, if you'd just like to use those buttons rather than typing it into the chat room for the individual answers. And if you'd like to get hold of either Prashant's or Hugh's presentation, you can do that by following the download webinar slides button there, which I think would work well. If you want to watch the replay of today's presentation, you can get that, as well as also copies of the slides from callcenterhelper.com/recorded webinars, recorded-webinars. That will be available later on this afternoon. Other advantage of being in the chat room is you can ask questions. If you'd like to use hashtag question if you've got a question, or hashtag tip if you've got a tip. And we have a bottle of either champagne or a box of chocolates or an Amazon gift voucher, whichever you prefer, for the best tip, which we'll be picking live on this call. So again, just log into the chat room, callcenterhelper.com/chat. I think we've got about 48 people currently logged into the chat room out of the 115 we have online. So I think half the audience are not yet logged in. So just encourage you to do it. Just put this link, cch.chat, into your browser. Now, while we're doing that, we're just going to pull up a poll now. And I'd just like to ask a question. What are your biggest challenges in the contact center? Perhaps if you pick up to 3, what are your biggest challenges in the contact center? Is it meeting service level? Is it staff shortages? Is it motivating remote employees? Is it technology issues? Is it increased contact volumes? Is it increased customer expectations? If you'd just like to put in what the answers are there. So what are your biggest challenges in the contact center? So I think we've got most people have voted. Just let the couple of the stragglers vote now, and I will just share the results. So let's share the results here. Well, the winner. Hugh, you might be interested on this one. Technology issues. So and Prashant's nodding there, Hugh. So that's perhaps a bit of a surprise that's come up higher than motivating remote employees.
It's interesting, actually. I wonder what stage that was. I think initially a lot of customers were sort of trying to figure out what does working from home mean, not just the laptop and that technology, but also the kind of calls and interactions. We had customers, for example, that couldn't take certain calls at home because they were sharing that home environment with other people, and that was then inappropriate. So I wonder if that's just a stage in a cycle, and but it is interesting seeing it so high now.
And Prashant, I don't know if that technology issues is often to do with connectivity of remote employees.
Absolutely, but there is a story changing now. From what I hear is, yes, initially it was about I cannot connect, I cannot, have the right compliance setup done, etc. But now it is changing to even team leaders saying, how do I do my side-by-side coaching?
Yeah.
Yes, it can be done remotely, but in a different way. How do I access my XYZ report? How do I? So it is, as this is a new normal, it is moving to the next stage, but the technology issues still remain. I'm kind of not so surprised.
Okay, well, that's probably a good point then to actually hand across to Prashant. And Prashant, if you'd like to put your slides up, and if you'd like to share with us your presentation. While you're doing that, just a reminder, if anyone in the audience isn't logged into our chat room, if you just go to callcenterhelper.com/chat or cch.chat, we are using the chat room rather than the Zoom chat function.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. A very warm welcome to this presentation. Allow me to share 7 things that great contact centers do well. So in short, in this presentation, I do intend to cover, starting with key priorities of great contact centers, what exactly they are trying to deliver. And based on that, what 7 things that great contact centers really do well. Plus, on the top of it, what routines for great results that they follow. And of course, we will have some question time after that. So let me first start with the key priorities of great contact centers. And great contact centers, one of the key priorities always being best center to invest in. That is being an efficient contact center so that there is return on investment for the people who are running the contact center. That is to begin with. The another key priority is for that contact center is to be best center to contact for the customers. And that is about being really effective contact center. And last but not the least, the other priority, the third priority is also being best place to work. That is for the people. And this is not surprising because it is your people who are going to make this sustain and sustainable, these contact centers to be great. So just to reiterate, the priority is about efficiency, and by efficiency, we mean that, of course, the speed of response and high quality at increasingly lower cost, delivering great customer experience, and last but not the least, but being a great place to work. Now, based on these priorities, I'm going to share with you the 7 things that great contact centers do. Of course, those 7 things are to deliver these priorities. And let me start with efficiency. And first and foremost thing, any great contact center would do what we call demand-led resourcing in the trade. What do I mean by that? Standard demand-led resourcing would start with what was my last year's contact demand. It will look at, okay, based on that, what is going to be my overall business growth? What is going to be the channel growth? Some particular channel may be growing, some not so growing. And if we are going to have any project or change in the coming year, and what is going to be the impact of that on the contact volumes. But great contact centers, over and above this, do one thing additional. They also factor in self-service. And by self-service, I mean not just putting up a portal to help yourself kind of thing, but really doing a smart, intelligent self-service where they move what we call transactional queries to the self-service while retaining relationship type of the contacts by voice type of the channel. And the second thing that factor in a customer behavior change. For example, as we were talking about COVID impact and the customer expectations changing. And even customer behavior, customer preference of channel will be changing, and they would factor that in. Based on that, they work out next year's contact demand, and they do a detailed demand-led resourcing. By that, I mean that they would work out not just the annual one, but intra-year, intra-month, intra-week, intra-day detailed plan in terms of what resources you need for what channel, and then actually do that resourcing so that it is the most efficient contact center. The second thing on the efficiency, great contact centers actually position themselves as value center. And what do I mean by that? That is, the traditional model of or perspective of a contact center is being cost center, which is you develop economy of scale, you do multi-skilling, so you really deliver efficiency, which is great. And to deliver even more, you focus on your average handling time or cost per customer, cost per contact, so that you have really managed your efficiencies, which is fine. But great contact centers go over and beyond that and position themselves as value centers. And by that, I mean, yes, of course, they start with economy of scale and multi-skilling, but they also will have focus rather on first contact resolution, rather on customer retention, and not just on average handling time, for example. Over and above that, they also invest into value additions. And by value additions, for example, if it is a service or customer service contact center, they will still invest into what I call sales through service. And they will also invest into intangibles. That is, for example, customer satisfactions or net promoter score, customer effort score. You take it, any of those measures, and of course, quality assurance and compliance. But they really work towards delivering this value addition to the business, and they really become value center, not just cost center. The third thing that great contact centers do well is on the effectiveness. And they have their focus on quality and customer experience. And what do I mean by that? Customer experience, yes, we all want to deliver, and there are so many channels, and we all try to do maximum on that. But great contact centers actually become voice of customers. They systematically and methodically, actively listen to their customers and take that feedback and provide that to the business, and they truly become voice of customer. The second thing is that, yes, good contact centers will have good customer experience measures, customer satisfaction score or NPS or customer effort score. But great contact centers will have these measures across the channels, and they will try to join that up and understand customer journey across these channels and try to improve based on that the customer experience by identifying pain points and trying to remove that, and identifying delight points or customer delight points and trying to strengthen that. Over and above that, they always focus on quality assurance and compliance as a default. It just there has to be delivered. So that is the third thing. The fourth thing that they do really well is having customer-centric processes. And I will just give two examples of processes, of real life examples. So in one of the large organizations that I'm aware of, they had case allocation process. This was a complaints management contact center, just about 50 people with large national presence of the organization with about 220, 250 distributors. So customer had different touch points, including face-to-face at 250 different distributors. Now, the complaint case allocation process was first in, first out. Nothing wrong with that, makes sense, seems fair. But they were getting customer feedback that the customer was getting kind of disjointed impression that the complaint contact center, what they were saying, and the distributor on the ground, what they were saying, and it was not kind of adding up sometimes. So what they did was that they changed and they flipped the whole process and devised the whole teams on the regional basis. And what that made difference was actually added into both efficiency and effectiveness, because now every case manager or complaint case manager was not dealing with potentially 220 different distributors, but they were just dealing with 25 or 30 and able to develop relationship with them. On the distributor side, potentially they were not talking to 3 or 4 different people from the same contact center asking for 3 or 4 different complaints of outcomes. They were talking to one person who will talk about all 3 or 4. Not only there was that efficiency gain, but more importantly, It was the customer who was now being able to see a jointed or joined up customer communication. And that really made the difference. And that customer satisfaction score really improved. The second thing great contact centers do is about customer communication process. And this is kind of a setting is they rarely, mostly never reply on the behalf of teams, whether it's a refunds team or payments team or order tracing team. No. The customer communication is for the great contact center. It's a direct from customer to their case manager or customer service agent or sales agent, the person, name XYZ, and there is this direct contact. This customer communication process is always clear. But the key point that I would like to share is there is no set in stone rule. Having customer-centric processes is about questioning everything, actually listening to the customers and being able to devise your processes around customer and customer needs and customer behaviors. So having said that, let me allow audience poll and over to you, John T.
Okay, well, we've got a poll. How customer-centric are your processes? So on a scale of 1 to 5, how customer-centric are your processes? So 5 would be very customer-centric, 4 would be reasonably customer-centric, 3 would be average, perhaps good in areas, not so others. 2 is, well, they're rather disjointed, or 2 is just all over the place, completely jointed. So how customer-centric would you say your processes are? So if you'd just like to vote on that, if you'd like to use the buttons on your screen, would be good. And while people are just finishing up voting there, Prashant, I've got to say I did like that example you did of regional, of setting up regional teams to route the calls into, where you still get the economies of scale, but you actually get to deal with teams. I've seen a lot of companies that sort of set up a relationship manager. You're a high value customer, you've got a relationship manager, which is fine as long as your relationship manager is now having lunch with another customer and you can't reach them. So at least this way you can deal with a team of people so that they can, you're talking to the same team. If the cost of their team isn't available, you go on to a bigger pool. But I do like that way as a simple way of increasing. So let's look at customer-centric processes. I'll just share the results here. Well, perhaps not surprisingly, the biggest score is they're fairly average. Only 9% of the audience have got very customer-centric, 33% reasonably customer-centric. Luckily, there's only 1% that are completely disjointed, but really, I think a rather worrying 19% there are rather disjointed in terms of their approach. So I think, Prashant, there's probably quite a bit of leeway for people to follow your advice here.
Yeah, and to some extent, I'm not surprised because most of the time, with no one's fault, what happens is processes remain there because that's how we have done things. So that's how it moves. And on the back of that, I'm going to then move to the next priority of great contact centers that they really focus on, which is about culture. And as I've said, it is the people who make all of these things happen. And the most important, and any practitioner would tell you, the most difficult thing to set up in a contact center is having customer-focused culture. And setting up a culture is all about rewarding good behavior and addressing not so acceptable behavior, and has to be done over and over again and again till everyone changes accordingly. So how great contact centers do it and do it so well? They start with setting the right expectations from very beginning with everyone who is customer facing. They start with the roles, goals, and achievements. And then second thing they do is they actually share actual customer feedback with everyone who is customer facing. Over and above that, this is about rewarding good behavior and strengthening it. So the employee recognition is around customer feedback and customer recognition and customer appreciation. But that is not in random or once a month event where everyone or somebody is given a certificate and everyone claps. This is about actually setting up daily reporting so that everyone is aware how they have done yesterday, plus how they are doing week to date, month to date, how the team is doing, how the contact center is doing, around the key priority of, and you can have customer satisfaction as a measure, or you can have NPS or whatever the measure, but some customer focus measure, customer satisfaction measure, which is, used in such a way that everyone is absolutely aware what they are delivering and what great customer experience looks like. But having said that, there is a second part of it. Every feedback, we all know, is not going to be the great feedback or the positive feedback. There will always be some unhappy customer. And great contact centers, actually, they support their people. That comes the next priority, through coaching. And great contact centers really do this well. They would have set this up even in their workforce management system. That would be scheduled, and it would be built into, if I can use the jargon or the industry terms, is in office shrinkage. This would be built, but basically everyone would have usually at least twice in a month a coaching session, at least one which is in a one-to-one setup, another one which is in a team setup, and they are actually supported by the line manager and explain how they can do differently. This is not about punishing people. This is about actually supporting and developing the people so that they can do better. And the focus for this coaching is always about quality, compliance, and customer experience. And I'm just sharing here actual facts of one of the largest companies in the world, where the fact is that coaching significantly improves individual performance. It actually improves business outcomes, and coaching is 4 times more effective when it is done by a person's manager. So key point being, great contact centers really invest into coaching and supporting their people and allowing them to do better. Now, all of those things, the 7th most important thing is leveraging technology as enabler. And we all know that there is no shortage of technology. I mean, in contact center industry, technology is there. But what great contact centers do is they really use technology as an enabler to deliver all of those previous 6 things that I was talking about, starting with being best center to invest in. And if you remember, I was talking about the smart self-service or the sensible self-service, and they would invest into what I call intelligent self-service, where they would leverage artificial intelligence or some large organization, even machine learning, so that they are able to take all the customer feedback from all the touch points and provide a sensible, friendly, user-friendly customer self-service. They will have chatbot, but not something that just pops up, but it is backed up by decent artificial intelligence. And for all of this, they would work hard and develop robust knowledge management, because without robust knowledge management, all of these tools may not be as effective. The second thing on the best center to contact for customers, from technology side, great contact centers especially invest in being voice of customer. And by that I mean is that they will have speech analytics, which then takes the customer feedback and improves continuous customer service delivery and experience. But they will also have analysis of customer journey analysis across the channels, so that it makes sense of how customer is going through in the entire customer journey and not just in a particular channel. And third thing is that they will, on the best center to work, they would invest into workforce management and reporting, because without standard and timely, accurate, and sensible reporting, people don't know how they are doing. You can't support them. And on the workforce management, I mean, imagine a person having their shift knowledge 6 weeks in advance instead of 2 weeks in advance. That is a massive impact on their work-life balance. And an engaged employee is the best employee. That's how you make it best place to work. So having said that, let me reiterate quickly 7 things that great contact centers do well, starting with demand-led resourcing on the efficiency front, and also positioning contact centers as a value center, not just as a cost center, investing into value addition. They focus on quality and customer experience, and they actually have processes which are customer-centric around customer needs and customer behaviors. They also invest into developing a culture which is customer focused, and they support their people on via coaching on quality, compliance, and improving customer experience. And for all of these things, they leverage technology as an enabler. Just to add one last point, and which is about routines for great results. Greatness comes by doing hard work, slow, steady slog, but doing it so methodically, so well that you actually and gradually become better and better and better. And great contact centers start with demand-led resourcing and good workforce management, and they forecast, they plan in terms of details, by hour, by day, by week, by month, and then they have this daily reporting for the front line and for management. And then they actually review and analyze their weekly and monthly performance with the variance analysis, because you can plan the best, but something, results may be different. Why that variance? And then based on that variance analysis and understanding, they would have those corrections, and this continuous improvement loop will continue and further improvements. Great contact centers, especially the multi-site and large contact center, also will do what I call channel and site integrations for flags or for managing across the channels and across the site their peaks and drops to earn further efficiencies. So having said that, going back, when we started, I had mentioned that I would be talking to you about and sharing my experience about key priorities of great contact centers. What 7 things that great contact centers do really well? Routines that they follow for great results and to actually deliver that. And in the end, we will have question time. So as promised, questions, please.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Prashant. I'm just going to share my screen here, and what I'll going to do, we're going to jump across to our chat room in a minute. The chat room here is on the link callcenterhelper.com/chat, or if you'd like to do cch.chat. So we've got about half of the audience logged into the chat room, so I'll give you just a minute or two to fire that up, cch.chat, and then you can use these buttons in the bottom of the chat room, A, B, C, D buttons, for voting. A couple of takeaways though from Prashant's presentation, which I thought was great. Identify your customer pain points, but also identify your customer delight points. I think we're all too aware of the customer pain points, but sometimes forget the customer delight points. I think that's a great one. Coaching is best done by a manager, or if not done by a manager, by being reinforced by a manager. I think is a thing that's often missed, particularly if you offload the coaching onto a sort of coaching department. It has its benefits, but certainly it needs to be in that case reinforced by the manager, or so it'll be off. And importantly, the need for robust knowledge management. I think absolute critical, robust knowledge management. A lot of people just put in a knowledge management technology and just sort of leave it. It's got to be a living, breathing process there if it's to work. So let's have a look. We've got quite a large number of people. I think we've got 70 people now logged into the chat room. So we're going to take part in the quiz. Just if you haven't quite logged in there, callcenterhelper.com/chat, and then you see these buttons A, B, C, or D in the bottom left-hand side of the chat room. You can do it through your phone. The quickest way is just type cch.chat into your phone, and you can be in there. Here we are. We've got 71 people logged in. So I'm going to start the quiz now. So true or false? Efficiency, effectiveness, and people were Prashant's key priorities of great contact centers. True or false? Effectiveness, efficiency, and people were Prashant's key priorities of great contact centers. So 27 voted so far. Just let a couple of the other votes coming in. If you just use the A, B, C, or D buttons, obviously in this case just use the A or the B. And right, I think we've got most people voted now. I think everyone who's going to vote. So let's have a look at the result. So the answer you got right, 45%, 45 people got the right answer, which was true. Efficiency, effectiveness, and people were the three things that Prashant proposes you invest in. Very good. Okay, let's have a look through. Which of the following great initiatives is the most commonly used within contact centers? This is according to a call center help poll. Is it buddying advisors? Is it flexible shifts? Is it knowledge champions? Or is it motivational games? Which of the following do you think is the most commonly used within contact centers? Just like to vote on that. A, buddying advisors. B, flexible shifts. C, knowledge champions. Or D, motivational games. Let's have a look at what one. I think everyone's having to think a bit harder on this one. So looks like most people got the wrong answer. The answer there is actually knowledge champions. Only about a quarter of the audience have got that one. According to Call Centre Helper survey, our annual survey, what's happening in contact centres right now. Knowledge champions came above flexible shifts, which came above budding advisors, and motivational games was actually a much lower than a lot of people had thought. So 63% of contact centres have a knowledge champions initiative. So if you don't have a knowledge champion initiative, that's a good way of helping to build a robust knowledge management system, which Prashant had said. So we've got Alex in the lead currently. So which of the following routines for great results did Prashant not recommend? I'm not saying you didn't recommend it, but it wasn't one of your key ones in there. Was it daily reporting for frontline management? Was it weekly and monthly reviews with variance analysis? Was it a control and monitoring routine, or was it a continuous improvement mechanism? So which one of these did Prashant not have on his slide about the key routines for great results? So A, daily reporting for frontline management. B, weekly and monthly reviews with variance analysis. C, control and monitoring routine. Or D, a continuous improvement mechanism. So, most of you got that one right, a control and monitoring routine. So that tends to infer you've downloaded the slides, again in the top, in the chat room top right. So here's the graph that Prashant had. And final question we've got, Alex in the lead so far. Which famous philosopher once said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit"? Who said that? Was it A, Carl Jung, B, Aristotle, C, Friedrich Nietzsche, or D, Adam Smith? So which famous philosopher once said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellent, therefore, is not an act, but a habit"? So let's just share the results here. Or the highest number got the right answer. It was indeed Aristotle. Another similar quote from Aristotle says, "Quality is not an act, it is a habit." So some great ones there. So let's have a look. Who's the winner of the quiz? All the way through, it was Alex there. Looks like Dan was close behind there. So Alex will be in touch with you to get your prize across. So let's have it's a bit of a nice bit of fun. Let's have a look at what tips we've got in the chat room. So the first tip, it's from Alex again, I think, really trying to win the prizes here. Provide a personalized structure to your remote employees. Set up regular check-ins with them, either formal or informal, whatever they would prefer, and have clear expectations set on things like flexible working and performance. Prashant, your thought on this step? You're on mute currently.
Yes, Alex is spot on as usual, I would say. But it is very, very important to have that regular check-ins. It's so easy to forget when we are not in the physical space. So I agree.
So we've got a comment from Seema here. To be a demand-led contact center, we have a clear RAG status, that's red, amber, green, a multi-site plan that sets out what current skill sets our agents have, who and when we plan to skill up, and those not required to be trained. We don't have a workforce management system, So this works brilliantly for us. Hugh, I know you're going to be talking on workforce management systems, so I guess you'd probably propose one of those over a straight RAG system, but they have their part.
Yeah, and actually, I think our successful customers have actually intertwined great process, and it sounds like a really good process, but actually giving you the freedom and the scale of a technology platform to support that, I think is always a good shout.
Excellent. So let's have a look. Seema says recruit for behaviors. I think that's one of the things you can train for. Often, I think it says there's a version of that says hire for attitude, train for skills, rather than I think a lot of people do the other way. So that's a good one. Sharon says every call center should have a business continuity plan and a customer-centric approach. I think it's certainly important in this day and age. I think the companies that didn't have a business continuity plan got a bit caught out in March when everyone went into the lockdown. Dan says, when evaluating a contact, remember SEE: success, effort, emotion. Successful contact, little or no effort, and great rapport. Prashant, I'd like that an acronym then.
Yeah, it's a great acronym. I think I came across it only once, but it struck the chord. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's a very good one there. So we've got a question in from Lindsay, who says, when you provide a dashboard for the agents to review daily, how do you encourage them to engage with reviewing and understanding the stats shared? So Hugh, I saw you were nodding along there. Do you have a view for agent dashboards?
We do. I mean, there is the traditional approach, like put meaningful information alongside the dashboard, but it's really interesting because it was a question that we posed earlier in terms of gamification or game theory. We're seeing quite an uptick on those kind of solutions, and they're not, the things that kids play with. These are tools that encourage people to be part of improving themselves and improving the operation. So applying gamification techniques actually to some of those areas, leaderboards, just simple things like leaderboards and prizes like a box of chocolates, for example, are great at that kind of motivation.
Excellent. So we've got a couple more tips, then we'll jump across to Hugh. Mike says, don't forget your admin functions that need to be aligned to your contact center goals and culture for consistent customer outcomes. I think there's a big danger. We all concentrate so much on the contact center, we often forget the behind the scene admin roles there in the back office. And Seema says, we start each one-to-one session with the question, tell me about 3 good things you did last week. I think that's a really nice way of sort of, they say often catch someone doing something good, but actually that almost encourages that. So I think that's a great approach. Okay, let's move across on the agenda to Hugh. And Hugh, if you'd like to share with us your slides and your thoughts on things that great contact centers do well.
So I need to press this little button down here. There you go. Is that coming through?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. So what I wanted to do really, and we just got a few minutes really here, is just focus on that closing remark and using technology and leveraging technology. Let's have a look at that. But let's just share a trend that we see in the industry, again, picking up from some of the material that Prashant mentioned earlier on. Our people, the agents and advisors who service our customers on a day-to-day basis have always been one of the most important cogs in our relationship with customers. And today, with more and more interactions being handled by that smart self-service that we were talking about, when those calls come through, when those emails arrive, they're often far more challenging and even more emotional. So our agents need to step up to that. And it isn't just about closing off the deal or renewing the insurance. It's having a conversation and making that customer feel part of the overall process there. And so customers need a knowledgeable, friendly person to help. And those employees really make a difference. And our focus from the tools is to ensure that they're engaged. Those employees are engaged, This could be by giving them a balanced shift plan, giving them that 6-week ahead of time notice of the shifts they're going to work, but also ensuring that we're involving them in rewarding work. You know, are there different channels, different work types that we can use to develop their skills and career? And absolutely that timely feedback and performance. And I really like that top tip we just saw there. It's not just about helping people overcome some of the gaps in their knowledge, but really rewarding those people for doing the great things. And that doesn't have to be monetary. You know, that can be just simply just making them feel special within the office environment. Now, all of this makes sense to me. You know, one of the reasons I joined a workforce management company was that I felt people were one of the most important things. But actually, statistics prove, you know, those organizations that engage with their employees, that deliver exceptional employee engagement, they're far more innovative. They bring products to market more quickly. Their customer satisfaction scores are higher. And actually, that results in higher profits. And certainly in the work I do, when we're talking to customers, everyone knows that it's great to engage with employees. But by demonstrating this true value and true business benefit in doing it, that's where we can really get traction with some of our customers. So I just want to focus on one key thing, really. You know, you look at that employee who's taking the challenging call or handling that email or chat, that they can be quite overwhelmed with all of the things they have to do. And what we really need them and want them to do is focus on the customer. So what can we do there to address that problem? Well, let's look at what automation we can put in place. I mean, simple things like IVR routing to make sure that there's the right call, but even advanced tools like biometrics to authenticate. So nobody has to remember the Labrador's name. We can really get through and discuss the customer's problem and not ask them about their mother's maiden name. And absolutely agree with providing help in the moment. You know, we're seeing exceptional knowledge bases going in, knowledge bases that customers can access as well, and that's important. But in the moment, and that really quick responsive knowledge system that helps the agent deal with the customer really quickly. But I'm just going to focus on that alignment strengths piece, and this is really where workforce management tools can come into play. You know, if we look at that forecast demand, so many customers I know have got brilliant models for looking at forecast demand. They know the things that drive demand into their centers. Absolutely, they're being challenged from March onwards because things changed, but they know the levers that get switched and pressed and come on stream in order to drive that demand. So certainly look over the last month, years, and look for other experiences where our forecast demand occurred. And what we're really looking for there is trends, data, trends, call arrival patterns. When a customer's calling, how many of them call, when they choose to use email, how long those interactions take to handle, and how quickly do they expect a response. So we can easily help customers model this with our forecasting tool, part of Verint Monet. So this is an enabler, if you think. You know, that person who's using this tool is brilliant. They're sitting at the center of the customer journey, understanding what demand drivers are going on, from weather patterns to marketing campaigns to pandemics. And they really need a tool to help them do their job easily. And we can integrate with lots of different sources of that information, even Salesforce, and take that and give accurate planning and number of people we require per interval so we can properly service customers in the right way. Now, we've got another poll here, and I think we're going to open the floor up again just to really focus on those employees for just a short moment.
You're on mute at the moment.
Sorry, the question is, which contact center agent challenges do you face? It's multiple choice allowed. Is it retention of my best agents? Is it improving interactions between agents and customers? Is it improving my agent omni-channel productivity? Is it providing agents with the right tools? Or is it getting our agent scheduling correct? Which is the biggest challenges? Perhaps pick up to 2 or 3 on there. I think it'd be quite fascinating to see which challenges you're currently facing. So I think you've got most people voted there, and I'll just share the results. So there's quite a bit of an even split here, Hugh, but by far the two that jump out are improving interactions between agents and customers, as well as providing agents with the right tools. So again, technology seems to be quite a big problem for a lot of the audience.
Yes, I'm also interested is whether improve interactions, and maybe people could put this into the chat. You know, certainly we've seen an increasing focus on soft skills. I think they're still called that. So we can develop and deploy some great technology to connect customers and agents. But, you know, what additional skills and empathy do they need then to deal with that caller in the right way, that, you know, bring that emotional piece to bear? I'm wondering if that is technology as well as soft skills.
Indeed. Well, let's turn that off there if you want to carry on.
Thank you. I clicked too early there. Now, obviously what we can do there is take all of those demand drivers, those different assumptions that we've taken, and we know how many people we need and when. It's now down to who. So there's the shift plan, the roster. But before that happens, we really need to consider the reality of the business. And again, we saw this clearly earlier on, that there's a finite cost model, and there's also a finite number of skills we've got. We can't, you know, relentlessly pour money and relentlessly pour people at this problem. We have the needs of the business. And one of the things our tools do really well is help customers to get a balance between the needs of the business, the budget, and the needs of the employee. And we can do that really easily, again, with the technology, taking all of those assumptions into play. And at the click of a button, we're optimizing the people available within those rules that we've set. And I wholeheartedly agree with some of the sentiments earlier on. Absolutely, and even more so in today's age, make sure there's enough time there for that offline work. So let's deliver the customer expectation, let's hit service levels, but make sure we've got enough time for coaching. And certainly that's one thing that's changed in our experience. You know, I talked to a team leader not too long ago, and she was saying that it isn't just a quick 5 or 10 minute buzz session with her colleagues now, because when they were having those catch-up calls, catch-up Zoom or team sessions, they were talking about far more, because we're having to think about how that employee is coping working outside of that traditional office environment, given that kind of structure that people were talking about earlier. So planning of our work in order to ensure that our customers are satisfied, but also ensuring that we're putting sufficient time in there to give our agents the right motivation, coaching, and help to do their job even better. And we can even extend that to just deliver that information straight to the employee and not distract them. So here's one example. We're just dropping a simple widget into the enterprise solution of choice here, Salesforce. And without moving from that Salesforce screen, the employee can just quickly see that schedule, quickly see what expectations their employers have of them, and be in control, because they can book time off, they can swap their shifts. That's again another important facet of working today, is that, okay, I need to be part of helping my business succeed, but I want control. I want to be able to book those holidays and get instant results through automated approvals. So a couple of things from us that maybe are good thinking and we put into the chat session. Certainly we are seeing that manual processes are great. You know, customers have put a lot of hard work into fixing some of those. But certainly, especially with the rate and the pace of change we're seeing, some of those manual processes and spreadsheets simply can't keep up. And also cloud, and that's, you know, clearly something that's worked really well through the last several months. Using cloud-based solutions gives you quick and cost-effective approaches at scale to solve these kind of problems. But, you know, those are technology solutions. It is still fundamentally a challenge of helping people do their job, ensuring you're engaging with your employees and using smart planning to ensure that work-life balance is respected. Because those great employees will result in great customer interactions and more profitable businesses for us all. And the good news is, you know, this is all available. You can start to consume this kind of technology as a service off of the cloud. So there is really no need to swim against the tide here. There are modern, affordable solutions that are designed to help get you up and running quickly and really help you do a better job with your customers.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that, Hugh. If you'd like to have a demonstration of the Variant Monet solution, you can just do that. And Hugh would be delighted to arrange for that. Just put your put a yes into the little box there on the screen if you'd like to see there. I think some.
Jonty, you're showing your wrong screen.
Showing the wrong screen. Okay, let's.
I think that's the other poll we can have, isn't it? The top new phrases in this in the Zoom world. It's usually Hugh, you're on mute or something, I think.
So hopefully that's coming up okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's great. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you'd like to have a demonstration, just press on that there. So we're going to jump across to the chat room. Some great thoughts coming through from the audience. Let's see what tips have come through. So Alan says, don't use COVID as an excuse. View it as an opportunity to review and revise your processes by re-engaging your staff to make the most of the new working normal and build good habits as a joint effort to enhance quality and the customer experience. Hugh, I see you nodding away there. I think it has been a bit of an excuse, but it's wearing a little thin, I think, currently.
I think so. I think Prashant mentioned this earlier. I think, we all need to think about our customers, and they no longer want that IVR greeting that says, hey, we're really busy, send us an email or something. That they expect now to be that you're sort of responsive and set up. And also, actually, I think COVID was an example of the way that our customers and our organizations need to much better manage scale and flexibility in the newer world, because this is, just a good, a really key part of what they need to plan for into the future. So I'd agree.
And here, Prashant, here's a tip from Seema, who says it's really important and effective to know that agents know the company website and content, as this is not only a knowledge base, but it's also important for supporting customers to self-help. Spending a little time talking to a customer about the services and benefits of self-service will help shift demand to self-service. I think that's a good approach. Often there's a bit of a disconnect between the website and the contact center, and I think linking the two together is quite key.
Yes, absolutely. And nowadays, customers come after doing their own research. So your advisor must be as up to date as your customer, at least, rightly so.
And I think one of the other things that you also need to do on this is the IVR message that I get played saying, did you know that you can solve your problem on our website? It's like, well, where do you think I got your telephone number from? It's that's exactly where the reason I'm calling you is because I couldn't. So I think be very careful of playing that message, but certainly guiding people to self-service, I think could be quite appropriate. Adut says, leverage technology as enabler. We're seeing the fruits of our investment. We easily move from WOS to WFH setup, work from home. I don't know, WS, is that work on-site, I think. Work on-site, is that right? IVA addressed increased in volume and improved occupancy. So I'm not quite sure what occupancy, what the IVA is there. So I don't know if, Hugh, have you got any thoughts on this, moving from WS to work from home?
Yeah, I think we had a couple of workshops at the beginning of the of this phase, and it was really interesting to just share top tips on how customers were effectively working from home. But again, back to the the cycle we're in. I think, and Chris and I, we were in the last call in the last couple of months, and it's now much more of a matter of planning the return to office, and how we can do that in a structured way that allows agents to feel safe and secure, and buildings as well to properly ensure that people are working in a safe environment. So there's all different factors coming in there.
We've also got a tip that's come in from Odette, who says, ensure operational and analytical dashboards are in place. Prashant, I don't know if you've used operational dashboards.
Yes, my only suggestion would be it has to be relevant. To put simply, if we are taking hammering on service level, actually frontline agent is not that much interested in that.
Yeah, no, I
What
think
they are
relevance
interested is, yeah, what people are talking about them, what is their personal, so as long as that is matched, and it works, yes.
Okay, we've got a question here from Peter saying, what's the best way to do workforce planning without any costly tech, or I guess it might be limiting the tech. Hugh, if you're down in the trenches in spreadsheets, what do you think is the best way forward?
Yeah, there were a couple of things, which work, which are true whether you're using manual or automated process. And Prashant talked about earlier, make sure that you've got a really good laser focus on your demand and understand all the different demand drivers, whether that's your marketing teams or your service teams releasing new products or something like that. That's absolutely number one. And then two, when you're thinking about how you're aligning that work to people, giving them a roster, as we said earlier, really just involve them. Ask people the ideal shifts for them, because everyone is different. Some people love working at night. Some people have increased childcare responsibilities in the morning and very limited time to drop off the kids at the school gate these days. So, even if you haven't got a tool, ask those two really quick, fundamental questions, I think.
And in terms of pricing tools, I mean, it used to be that that these were actually quite expensive, but nowadays the sort of rule of thumb is often if you can cope with spreadsheets up to about 35 to say 50 advisors, but above that, it costs you more not to have a workforce manager. Is that the sort of current thinking, Hugh?
Yes, certainly, and I think if we talk about our solutions for a second, they are affordable in that range. And actually, what's startling, if you think, and again, Prashant was saying some really interesting statistics earlier on, what we're talking about with a solution here is just turning up the productivity of your people, and your people are still the biggest investment in that organization. So we see people getting really strong and achievable returns in sort of a few months, 6 to 9 months or something like that. And that's really quite compelling for most businesses these days that are looking to what is the right investment now.
Indeed. So let's have a look at a couple more questions and tips that came through. So here's one from Joy. It says, we were put on a hiring freeze and are currently understaffed. Attempting to meet the service level, we're cancelling coaching and training. This is equating to less engaged and satisfied employees. Prashant, don't know if you've got a view here. Cancelling coaching and training is probably completely the wrong answer if you're not meeting service level, because if you're understaffed, you're never going to meet service level, but you can at least deliver the right attitude. What's your thought on that, Prashant?
Yes, and it is actually losing, so it's a loss. It's not even win-loss proposition, because on one side, you are anyway going to lose, you are not delivering service. Let's face it. But by supporting team, by coaching and training, you are actually going to improve their productivity in almost near term. So that is an investment which is going to give you results within number of days. So in my opinion, yes, you are going to get not only less engaged and less satisfied employee, but less capable people in not so bad terms, but you are not supporting them with the best of the skills. So yeah. No, it's a loss.
I think it's it's almost like if you're running an airline and you get really busy, we won't train the pilots properly on how to fly the airplanes. It's kind of, I know it's really hard when you're down in the swamps, but really coaching and training is the way out. Right. Well, I'm afraid we're reaching the top of the hour. Let's have a look. If you could say in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about today's webinar? If you could put that into the chat room. Let's have a look at what the winning tip coming through is. And Paul has said, focus on why customers contact you. It allows you to identify waste, which could easily be 50 to 60% of your demand. So I guess if you're struggling to meet service level, if you look at what is causing the wasted contacts, then that would be a good way to do that. We've got a survey when you leave the webinar. It's only 4 questions long if you'd like to do that. We'll have the replay available later on this afternoon. And next week, we're going to be looking at the new thinking for contact center KPIs. Well, I've really enjoyed today's webinar. I'd just like to say thank you to our two speakers who've joined us for their first webinar. Hopefully it won't be their last. So Prashant, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, and thanks to audience. I really enjoyed, really engaged and very well-informed audience. So thank you to call center helper, and thank you to the audience.
Excellent. And Hugh, thanks for joining us, and really enjoyed the experience.
Oh, great. It's been really good, actually. So appreciate everyone's time and contribution today. So hope to meet everyone again soon.
And thank you to everyone in the audience. We hope to welcome along next week to our webinar on contact center metrics and latest thinking. Thanks then, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.